Hey, we are here for our 37th unboxing. I'm Eliza.
I'm Amber.
And we have a huge box of adult books, both fiction and nonfiction, and a few audiobooks thrown in. So I'm going to start with a double matchup. We have both the audio and the regular of There Are No Grown-Ups by Pamela Druckerman, who wrote Bringing Up Bebe.
This sounds accurate to me.
Yeah, so. A midlife coming-of-age story. Her other book was about raising her baby in France. When I had a baby, like a million people recommended it to me.
See if there are any other matchups. I don't really see any. So we'll go with Campaign Widows by Aimee Agresti. American Dream. I'm assuming it ends up not really being a dream.
They're not widows in the sense that their husbands are dead. They're widows in the sense that their husbands are politicians, and so they're all out just like on the road constantly, and so they have sort of a group. And I think it said that it's not, even though it's sort of like takes place in modern day, it's not actually like these people are actually these people, or these people are actually these people. It's just fictional. Okay. So it's sort of a fun look at what it's like to have a political husband. Do you really need that pill? This is actually a really interesting question, because it sounds like a lot of people feel like maybe they're getting recommended pills that they don't really need. And on the back it says, is your medication making you sick? I think people will really want to look at that.
A novel by Bill Clinton and James Patterson. This is wild.
It's a thing.
The President is Missing.
It's a real thing.
Proof. There they are. That tells you what you need to know. The President is missing.
It's like a thriller.
Yeah.
That Kind of Mother by Rumaan Alam. I really enjoyed his book Rich and Pretty, and this is about a woman who becomes good friends with her nanny, and then her nanny dies in childbirth, and she ends up taking the kid. Sort of dark, but also just like a look at motherhood.
Circe by Madeline Miller.
I can't remember if I think we already have the book.
It looks like Greek mythology. Yeah.
Two Steps Forward by Graham Simpson, who's the same author as the Rosie Project, which was just this super popular book that came out of nowhere. It's about a pilgrimage artist from California whose husband dies, and she goes on a pilgrimage in Spain and meets an engineer from England. That actually sounds good to me.
Sounds like a nice adventure.
Yeah.
More Deadly Than War, The Hidden History of the Spanish Flu and the First World War. And this is a nonfiction. Invisible, Incurable, Unstoppable. So like a thrilling nonfiction.
Yeah. I think people will be interested in that. It's exactly 100 years ago, and I think a lot of people forget just how many people died.
And how that's really, like, kind of recent. It's like 100 years ago.
Yeah. The Indian World of George Washington, the First President, the First Americans, and the Birth of a Nation. And so this is about George Washington's relationships with Indians, both positive and negative things. And we have a lot of people who are interested in local history, so I think they would be interested in that.
Do you know if there will be like local history in here? Or just like the United States?
I mean, it's definitely stuff in like Massachusetts, because there wasn't, things weren't,
Yeah. So most likely Massachusetts. The Overstory by Richard Powers, winner of the National Book Award. It looks kind of intense. Yeah. Air Force Loadmaster in the Vietnam War is shot out of the sky. There are 4 or 5 other people, and they're all strangers, and they're summoned
by trees.
In different ways by trees, and brought together in a last and violent stand to save the continent's few remaining acres of virgin forest. So it sounds supernatural, but also, I don't know, it sounds really interesting.
Yeah, it sounds really different. I kind of want to try it. Yeah. Sometimes thick books, like, it's hard, obviously, because they take longer to read, but if you get into them, it's so wonderful, because then you just have this sort of friend for a long time. Paul Simon, The Life.
Oh, that would be interesting. Yeah. I mean, that says it. It's just
whenever I look at our circulation statistics here, biographies of, like, popular musicians.
Yeah. How Hard Can It Be by Alison Pearson. It looks like, it can be really hard.
She wrote the sort of, I don't know how she does it. That was like a really popular, like,
it was made into a movie. This is a hilarious look at being a woman of a certain age. It's funny, it's sharp, so.
Oh, this, we do have a matchup. Yay! Ruth Ware, The Death of Mrs. Westaway. And she wrote The Woman in Cabin 10.
Oh, that was really popular.
It was so popular.
Yeah. Is it like a thriller?
Yeah, and I still haven't read it, but it's still like on my list because so many of our patrons just loved it. Although maybe I'll start with this one. That looks good too.
We have another match. I did not realize he was coming out with another book. Stephen King,
always coming out with
The Outsider. I actually really like reading Stephen King, so I thought that I would have heard of it. It's so creepy.
I really like that cover. I like everything about it.
An unspeakable crime, an abundance of evidence, a confounding investigation, 11-year-old boy's corpse, detective, all kinds of other things. So maybe I won't be reading this one. But in any case, it's thick. If you like Stephen King's long stories, that's for you.
I'll save that to see if we have another matchup. Here, this is Barracoon by Zora Neale Hurston, and this is a book she actually wrote in 1937 or something, and the subtitle is The Story of the Last Black Cargo, and it's about the last slave brought over from Africa, and it was never published, and now they've just published it. And I've actually, I was worried it would be like too academic, but I actually had patrons asking for it. I think people are really interested in her and in this book. So.
Arctic Gambit by Larry Bond. It looks like just like a thriller, war novel by people who would read Tom Clancy would be interested in this.
The Soul of America, The Battle for Our Better Angels by John Meacham, winner of the Pulitzer Prize.
What did he write? That sounds really familiar. His name
is so familiar. Oh, about how people are getting more and more divided, and then he looks into history and looks in the origins of that.
True. I like the end papers on there. They have the...
Yeah.
The House Swap by Rebecca Fleet. This looks like a thriller. The title sounds kind of playful. A house swap becomes the eerie backdrop to a crumbling marriage, a long-buried affair, and the fatal consequences that unfold. So it's like a thriller, I assume.
There's something a little creepy about a house swap.
Yeah.
Fredrich Backman, a super mega popular author of A Man Called Ove. I feel like we have people coming in like once a week asking for his books.
Yeah.
And this one is called Us Against You.
The Oracle Year by Charles Soule. This is a novel. Tomorrow is today. These are the things that will happen. It says knowledge is power. This looks like kind of futuristic and maybe a little freaky.
Wait, it's fiction, but what is it about?
What is it about?
What is it about?
Unassuming Manhattan bassist awakens from a dream one morning with 108 predictions about the future in his head. He rapidly finds himself the most powerful man in the world. Cool.
Going in another direction. When Life Gives You Lululemons. This is a Devil Wears Prada novel by Lauren Weisberger.
So the same kind of, like I'm sure it'll be funny and
fun and lots of fashion.
So we missed this matchup. We already saw Circe. Nice maps. Cirque? Is it Cirque? Like Cirque du Soleil or Cirque?
In like Greek, you're supposed to pronounce the C as it's actually Cicero, not Cicero.
Oh no! Well, they need like a pronunciation.
It's confusing. We can just do it the way everybody else does it. We don't have to be special. The Summer I Met Jack, and I am pretty sure that the Jack in this is John Kennedy, about a fictionalized story about a woman who has an affair with him.
Didn't we? This is not something that we have already?
I feel like we have a different one maybe, or we already have this
fictionalized book. Thing about.
Yeah, I don't think this is the same one unless I messed up, but maybe it's just a popular,
The Map of Salt and Stars by Jennifer Zainab Jukadar. And it just, so the summer of 2011, a woman and her sisters go from New York City back to Syria to be closer to their family. And they talk about the violence in the Middle East.
So on the last matchup, the new David Sedaris book, Calypso, which I'm going to assume is short stories because mostly he writes short stories.
Isn't it?
About sort of autobiographical short stories. So
we're getting to the bottom, slowly but surely.
I swear, yeah. I know it's been 10 minutes.
Tom Clancy's Op Center for Honor.
Dan Abrams and David Fisher, Lincoln's Last Trial, the murder case that propelled him to presidency. I know nothing about this, but that seems like a good sign. Like it's probably going to be interesting.
Kudos by Rachel Cusk. A woman writer visits a Europe in flux. This is a conclusion to her trilogy. So outline and transit, and then Kudos, I guess, is the last one here.
This is called The Glitch, about a sort of very high-powered woman who is the CEO of her own company, and she's married and has kids, and it's just, her life is like totally on track, and I don't know, when I read the review, there must be a glitch, but I thought it was really funny in the review. It said she had everything so scheduled out that she scheduled to have sex with her husband when they were changing clothes anyway, so it would be more efficient, right? I don't know, that made me laugh.
So does something bad happen?
I think something bad must happen.
It looks like a fun cover, like it's supposed to be maybe kind of funny also.
Oh, she meets a young woman who's like a young version of herself, including having the exact same the exact same scar, and she starts to wonder if she's going crazy. But I would assume even more happens than that.
Yeah. I really like the cover on this. The Patchwork Bride by Sandra Dallas. Look, it's a little heart, a ball of yarn heart.
This is a fun time of year. I feel like we're getting a lot of new books by authors who I just know our patrons like really love. Like here's another one is how am I going to pronounce his last name? Karl Ove Knausgaard, and this is Knausgaard, and this is his book Spring. But he also wrote like a really long series of sort of autobiographical books, and you'll just really love his writing.
This is nice and short too.
This is nice and short, unlike his long things. And I've never been able to read one of his whole books just because they're really thick. But I really love his writing. It's very poetic.
Next we have Clive Cussler, The Grey Ghost. I'm sure there's a line a mile long to get this book.
Second to last. First in line, Presidents, Vice Presidents, and the Pursuit of Power.
Very last book, A Star of the North by D.B. John. Star of the North? So this is about North Korea. It's fiction, yeah. I had a feeling, just, I don't know why.
Is it like a political thriller? Yes.
Yes, it's a thriller that takes readers deep into the heart of North Korea, braiding together the stories of 3 individuals who grapple with the oppressive power of the regime. Very timely.
I'm going to show you how big the box was. Look at how big this box was, and it was completely full.
We're all done.
We're out.